I will let you take over from here, Meredith. The floor is yours.
Well, Jessica, thank you so much for having me, as well as everybody else. I'm putting a timer on because, as we know, being on television, sometimes I could talk for hours, but I don't want to put you through that. But I'm really, really happy to be here. And Jessica and I actually met, we were talking about connections, and we met on Twitter because there's such a wonderful, active community on Twitter. There's the hashtag WX Twitter, and that's a way a lot of meteorologists, storm chasers, researchers connect. And so that's how Jess and I met. And being here in Denver, I've been here about 4 years now, and so I'm fairly new. And I've been wanting to get more involved in the AMS community, as in the last couple of years, I joined the Station Scientist Committee for AMS, as well as getting my CBM. And so this year I am the chair of the Station Scientist Committee, and we've got a great group from all over the country, as well as our own Mike Nelson, who is here at ABC Denver. He's one of our, they call him the founding father of the committee. And so he's been doing a lot of great work with climate change. And I'm so excited this year to chair it. And even though we don't have a organization to plan or an event to plan for the conference, we're still doing a lot of great things, which to share with you just a couple of great things, because it's going to impact everybody, not just the broadcasters. We're working on collaborating a national list of experts in all of your fields and your different variations of meteorology and science and any kind of STEM career degrees. And we're trying to put something together that'll be available to AMS members across the country, especially broadcasters. So when we're trying to do stories, we're trying to explain to the public, to people that don't know a lot about weather, what's going on with earthquakes, with volcanoes, with space weather. We really, as a committee, want to get information from people like yourselves and all over the country. So journalists have someone to call on to be that expert to help with the Station Scientist Initiative. So we'll be announcing a lot of other exciting things by the end of this year. But just to give you a little bit of a background on me, I am a broadcast meteorologist, as we were mentioning, for Weather Nation. So yes, Karen and I got to work together, and it was great. She was one of our leaders at the station before she got this fantastic opportunity. But now, right now I'm working there. That's my full-time gig. I'm doing the volunteering for the AMS Station Scientist Committee. And then I also do a lot of science and space reporting for Weather Nation. So I cover a lot of things with NASA and with Lockheed Martin, and doing stuff on space weather, and also a lot of the station scientist stories that we're sharing with the public. And so it's been a great opportunity. I've been there for the last 4 years, but like I'm sure so many of you got your interest in meteorology as a child. For me, that was at age 3. I grew up in Cleveland, Ohio, and my mom survived the super outbreak of 1974 in Xenia, which many of you might remember, the huge, devastating F5 tornado that went through the city and the outbreak. And my mom told me this story when I was 3 years old, and there was just something about hearing about tornadoes and how she saw the tornado form, and they got in the basement just in time. And then afterwards, it was fine. The next one was a split level, and the top of the house was gone, and everything else on the street was wiped out. And I feel like it was my calling to become a meteorologist, because from that moment I started making forecasts on my Fisher-Price tape recorder, warning people of tornadoes coming and telling people about the weather. And I know a lot of you know what a Fisher-Price tape recorder is. Our current generations may not know, but that was my first Facebook Live, I guess you could call, when I was doing these forecasts on cassette tape. And it was just a passion I had of tornadoes and severe weather. So I grew up reading every book I can. I watched all the NOVA and the NOAA videos, and then I ended up going to Valparaiso University in Northwest Indiana to get my degree, which is a Bachelor of Science in Meteorology. Like Chris, we did our internship with Tom Skilling, and that was a great experience for me on the broadcast side of things. But the curriculum, doing some summer storm chasing, I really got a great 4 years of passion developed for the field of meteorology and for being in broadcasting. And so I've been in broadcasting now since 2008 when I graduated. I've worked literally all over the country. So I'm from Cleveland. I worked in Rapid City, South Dakota. I worked in Sarasota, Florida. I worked in Santa Barbara, California, and spent a little time in Toledo and Zanesville. So I literally can say I've worked from coast to coast, and now doing national weather and being on the network. It's it's a whole different type of experience because now I have to cover every single weather event in every single city in the country, whether it's sunshine, whether it's storms, whether it's hurricanes, whether it's blizzards. So that's been a great experience for me as well. And in addition to that, I do a lot of involvement in the AMS through the committee, but also I try to do a lot with helping young women that are interested in STEM careers by doing school talks. A lot of virtual school talks this year, or to different colleges about their students that are going into the program. I volunteer a lot of my time to just do these sort of motivational talks and career talks to share my experience, because I really went through a lot of challenges. And a lot of times when you look at your career path and you think, oh, you work your way up, you climb yourself up to the top, there you go. I had a lot of setbacks in my career, which I use now to help young women and students understand that it's not always going to be easy, because I've had setbacks. I've lost my job before. I've been let down by teammates. I've had struggles with people writing into the station and commenting on the way I looked. I wasn't pretty enough. I was fat. I was skinny. I was everything you can imagine, everything that you hear about when they talk about our looks. And I've been through a lot of hard challenges over the years trying to deal with it, the trolls, the bullying. And although it was very tough at the time, and I know it's something they don't necessarily teach in college right now, it's something that I use to say that if you're passionate about the career in broadcasting, you have to be on, you're going to be on TV all the time, but you also have to take care of yourself, your mental health, and know that there's always going to be somebody that doesn't like you. There's always going to be somebody that thinks you should be something that you're not. And so I think the most important thing I try to strive as being a public figure and being on a national platform is that it's okay. We're going to go through these tough times, but at the end of the day, we have to be true to ourselves. We have to stay the scientists. We have to have the confidence to go there every single day on television, no matter what's going on in our personal life, and save lives and talk to people and tell them if their kid's soccer game is going to be canceled, or if there's going to be a severe weather event, staying calm, being that person they can trust. And we work a lot with the National Weather Service offices, and I have to give them credit, because behind the scenes, they're the ones issuing the warnings. They're the ones getting us these statistics, the information. They're the ones in the chat rooms with us saying, this town just got hit, this town is next. So we can convey that message to help those people in the communities in the path of these storms and these hurricanes and flooding. And so there's a lot of different things that go into broadcasting that I think you don't know unless you're in the broadcasting field. And so being part of the Station Scientist Committee, getting involved in the AMS, I try to be real about these experiences and what we go through as women in a broadcasting field, because you probably see stories about, well, guys can wear the same suit for 2 weeks and nobody knows. But if we change a dress or our hair color or our hairstyle and people don't like it, we hear about it. And that's absolutely true. But I feel as a broadcasting community, we come together, we do our best to support each other, because at the end of the day, we're the ones that we have to be the leaders. We have to be the faces of the meteorology community to convey the messages that we get in from the National Weather Service, from the Storm Prediction Center, from the National Hurricane Center, from all of your jobs that you do individually, your research. We get to take it in and present it in a way to the public that's going to get them excited about it, that's going to get them passionate about it, that's going to get them want to learn more about weather and climate and science, and put everything together to make it a part of their daily life. So we're not just standing people on the screen reading maps or reading numbers. We're part of people's families. We come into the offices of people every single day. We have truck drivers that put us on to make sure that their routes are going to be okay, going across I-70 or I-80. And so it's a very tough job. And that's why I have to agree with so many of the presentations I see at AMS, because we go through a lot, and there's a lot of mental health that we have to go through as well to make sure we're doing okay and our coworkers are doing okay to support each other in the community. But well, let's see here. I have my notes, just like a good reporter. But I think one of the reasons that I decided that this was going to be a great talk with everybody is I know with AMS, there's a lot of people that don't know what it's like to be a broadcaster, what it's like to take the science that we do behind the scenes and the analyzing and learning about all the climate information and being able to take that and to talk to people at home, whether it's somebody who has a little bit of a background in weather or has a little bit of a background in science, and make it interesting enough to them that they care. And for climate related actions, taking those actions and making a difference in the communities, and knowing that it's not just a computer model that's doing the forecast. We're using these tools to help other people with their forecasts locally and even nationally. And so I think that's one of the things about my job. I know this is the Denver chapter and I've worked in local news. And so I know for Denver meteorologists, for Colorado Springs meteorologists, there's a lot of challenges that go into the forecasting. And there's definitely a difference between forecasting locally and regionally versus being on a national platform where you really don't get to dive into the forecast as much as I would do for a local broadcast. And so there's a lot of things that you learn over the years. There's a lot of trial and error. And I think one of the biggest things I've learned in my TV career so far has been we make mistakes. We bust forecasts. We're going to go on the air and we're going to talk about things that may not turn out the way that we want, or a forecast where we're calling for a foot of snow ends up being 2 inches of snow. And we know why, but then we have the job of trying to convey to the public, this is why it happened, and deal with, as I mentioned, all the trolls on social media that think they know better, or they just want to reach out and to try to tell us why we did a bad job or why we didn't, and then trying to think of ways to communicate to the public, yes, we made a mistake, or I made a mistake in my forecast, and here's why. And so there's a lot that goes into that. And I'm sure you just all recently saw as well that we had a big Dress for STEM Day. If you were on social media, you probably saw all of us female meteorologists and even some of our male colleagues wearing purple to come together on Pi Day on March 14th to represent all of the women in STEM fields, and how there still is, even though we have more chief meteorologists, we have more women leaders like here in our own chapter that are president, that are running organizations in the science and the STEM communities, but there's so much more work that we need to do. And so I really appreciate everything that everyone does to come together and to get this important message out, because I think a lot of girls are coming into a society where there's a lot of challenges, whether it's what's going on in the entire nation, whether it's what's going on in neighborhoods, whether it's just something that's going on that has nothing to do with you, but because it's a national topic, we have all of these challenges and adversities to go up against. And so it's so important more than ever to stick together, to have these conversations, to find out ways we can help each other, because at the end of the day, the most important thing we need to keep in mind is that we're all in this AMS community together. We are all in these different science and STEM careers together. And when we find ways to help each other and to communicate to the public and to each other what's going to be the best for climate research, for science research, even for just day to day, what's going on with the weather, like I do in my job. It's one of those things that I hope as an AMS community, we're going to work together in the future with all of these different committees that we have. And I think it's a great thing that we're doing. And that's why when Jess reached out and asked me to be a part of this, I thought, you know what, this is a good thing to do, because I know a lot of the AMS community, they don't know a lot about what we do as broadcast meteorologists. And so I think I could talk with you guys about this. But I feel the most important thing would be to open up a conversation as well and find out what your questions are in the different fields and what you want to know, or what you would like to hear, or if there's things that we could work on in the broadcasting community to represent the AMS community. I would love to hear everybody's feedback.
Well, thank you, Meredith. We definitely appreciate your insight and wisdom and just sharing your experiences.
Yeah, I didn't share my screen, but I can put this up really fast just to give everybody a little bit of information about me, just so you can, sorry, I haven't done one of these presentations in a while. Let's see, there we go. Just to give you a little bit of my information here, that if you are on social media, I'd love to hear from you. And then also, this is my email. If you have any questions that you can't think of today, or you maybe have students you know of or other people in the broadcasting industry or community, I would love to hear from you and help you outside of this event as well.
Could you maybe start by giving us just some tips for success for folks that might be interested in pursuing a career or in broadcast meteorology? Women, I mean, it doesn't have to be just women, but anyone interested in pursuing that field, just some tips for success.
That's a great question. And it's tough. It's very, very tough when you're thinking about going into the broadcast community. It sounds fun, right? You're going to be on TV, getting nerdy, talking about what you're passionate about. But there's a lot of things I think you don't hear about in college that's going to make you a success. The one thing I think that you really should understand is if you're going into the broadcasting field, you're not going to become a multimillionaire right away, or maybe ever. You're going to start off with a smaller pay. You're not going to have somebody that's going to be doing your hair and makeup. You're not going to have somebody dressing you. I mean, you look at some of the bigger networks and they have that additional help, but you're going to, especially for women, learn how to present yourself on air, wear the right clothes, do your own makeup, do your own hair. I can tell you back when I started, it was all box suits. And Karen, I'm sure can relate because that was when we started. And back in the day, we had to wear suits and it was only suits. And now we have a lot more wiggle room where we can wear dresses, we can wear suits, we can wear pants. You're going to learn so much about yourself by being a broadcast meteorologist. And I want to say that it's okay. Because when I wore some of the things I wore when I started off, looking back now, I am just horrified that I even thought that was going to be appropriate to wear on the air. I've had really bad hair days. I've had days where I forgot my makeup bag at home and I had to scramble last minute to try to put my face on to go on the air. And so just know that you're going to become really good at doing all of those things, and it's going to take practice. And I think, like with anything in life, you're going to be practicing a lot in the beginning of your career to help establish who you are. And you're going to be learning so many things, and you're still going to be learning. I've been in the broadcast world now for more than a decade, and I still feel like every single day I go into work, I learn something different, and I'm so appreciative. And when it comes to learning, it also comes to finding the right mentors and the right people to support you. And mentors could be a teacher. Mentors could be you're a broadcast student in college and finding somebody at a station locally or nationally that you look up to and having a conversation with him or her and having them be honest with you and look at your resume tapes. And I can't stress enough, you cannot be successful alone. Success is going to come with the help of other people. It's going to come with help and support from your friends and family. It's going to be your professors that believe in you, that are going to help you get through those tough classes. Because as we know, a degree in meteorology, that is half the battle. You're doing physics, you're doing Calc 1, 2, and 3, differential equations, thermodynamics. I mean, it's a hard science degree. And for my advice for college students especially is just know, I mean, there's going to be math geniuses out there. I was never one of them. I was hey, I'm getting a C and I'm working the hardest I possibly can. And for me, going from A's in high school to getting C's in some of my hardest science and math classes, it was a big wake up call for me because my professor, one of them freshman year, told me that, well, you don't have the sorry, I always get a little emotional about it, but it actually is what strengthened me into this field. Is I had a professor tell me that I needed to decide of a different career because she didn't think I was going to be able to make it based on my math and science scores. And it was a big letdown and I almost gave up my career, but I got tutors. I worked with upperclassmen and I really admitted to myself that it's okay. I'm not the best at math and science, but when you put in the hard work, when you believe in yourself, when you surround yourself with positive people, you're going to get through it and you're going to fail. I can't even tell you how many tests I failed and all my other classmates were passing. And there was me struggling with Calc 1, knowing that I still had 2 more big calculus classes to take ahead of me. And I was already struggling in the beginning one. And I never gave up. And I think that's the best piece of advice is if you deep in your soul and your heart are passionate about weather, but you're having some problems with classes, there are always ways to succeed. There's always ways to continue to work hard, and you're going to find the right people that are going to help you get through that. And then even so, once you do get your degree, it's tough. getting into the broadcasting community. I was very fortunate. I had great networking. And so out of college, I was able to get a job at a very small station because one of my fellow classmates had worked there. And so he was able to pass along my resume. But it is about who you know. Your talent is going to be very important, but also start networking junior, senior year. Reach out to those people that work in stations that you want to work at. That, yes, you're probably going to need to get experience under your belt first, because you're not going to graduate from college and go straight to Chicago, which is one of the top 3 markets in the country. You may work as an intern there, but you're going to have to pay your dues and work hard and get the experience to get to where your ultimate goal is going to be. So don't be afraid to network. Don't be afraid to find that mentor that is in your field, that is a broadcaster, that they have the same personality, they have the same passion as you. For me, that was Rich Apuzzo. Rich was a member of the AMS, and he was a Valparaiso University grad. Unfortunately, he lost his battle with brain cancer. I think it was about 5 or 6 years ago. But for the first half of my career, Rich was my rock. He was very honest with me. Even days where I thought I had a really good reel and I wanted to send it out to news directors, he'd be like, nope, you want to redo this, or this clip doesn't look good, or I don't think that's your best work. And as much as I fought him, being, a college student thinking I was going to take on the world, I really appreciated his honesty and him being there for me. And not just to look at my reels, but when I lost my job, somebody to tell me, don't give up, because in this business, if you get fired, it's okay, because there's a lot of people that probably have the same story. So you're not alone. Or, you know what, I don't think I'm going to be able to get through this because somebody sent in the worst emails and my coworkers and I are not getting along and I just need someone to talk to. And then having that mentor share their own personal story and know that they went through something similar, or getting their advice, whether it's at 5 o'clock in the afternoon or 5 a.m. just because you can't sleep, and they get back to you to be there for you. That was Rich for me. And I tell you to find your Rich, because that mentor, whether it is a female or a male, they're going to be there for you. They're going to put down what they're doing sometimes because they know it's a make or break point in your career. And so study hard. Don't give up if you fail, because you're going to fail a lot more in life and have a lot of letdowns. Find a fantastic mentor. Network with people that do what you want to do or that you look up to. And also, when you establish that mentorship, have patience with it. No, it's something that's going to be a relationship that develops over time. And they might introduce you to somebody else that could become a new mentor. And I think if you do all that and you stay focused, you have a positive mental attitude, going in, it is going to be a tough career. It's all going to pay off. And it may not be right away that you find that out. It actually took me 10 years into my career to know that I got to a goal that I wanted to do. And my university awarded me the first Decade Achievement Award for being an alumni. And it was the first year they were doing this award, and somebody nominated me and they gave it to me. And I think that was a very humbling experience, because I went through so many ups and so many downs and so many failures and so many successes and so many struggles and so many good moments that I didn't realize it until I started to see in front of me that everything that you do, good and bad, it's all going to come together, and it's going to help establish your legacy and who you are. And that's what people are going to remember you for. And you still are going to have so much more that you're going to want to accomplish and go for. But all this stuff you build up over the years, it's all going to help you get to that point.
That's incredible insight, Meredith. We definitely really appreciate that. And then on the lines of the mentoring, Wendy Abshire mentioned in the chat, if you're interested in finding an AMS member, there's actually a website where you can search for one and register through the site, mentoring365.org. She says she's a mentor there, and the relationship she's had with mentees through the platform has been terrific. So that's wonderful. So that's a great resource for everyone to check out. I definitely agree with that. I actually have a mentor myself right now that's helping me grow in my professional career, because I'm still a little bit new to the scene myself. But Wendy also did want to ask you, Meredith, what was your work transition like when the COVID pandemic hit, sending us home, basically? So what was that transition like for you, and how did you adapt as a broadcast meteorologist at that time?
It was definitely one of the biggest challenges, I think, for the broadcasting community that we've ever saw. We already have, as you've heard, have enough things that we're dealing with. So now we are dealing with COVID, where in the beginning for us, it was limiting our staff. And you can only have so many people in the building because while some stations had people broadcasting from home or doing a lot of remote broadcasting at Weather Nation, for us, we did a lot of our work in studio, putting our protocols into place, wearing masks, following all of the guidelines from the CDC, while also having to do our job and go on air, but with a lot less resources than we normally had. And so it was definitely a challenge. And I think it was definitely a moment too that for me, being a journalist as well as a broadcast on-air talent, I learned the power of networking even more, finding my interviews and people to help tell the weather story through LinkedIn, for example. I was doing stories on NASA, and here I am. I find the deputy director of NASA on LinkedIn. We start talking, and next thing you know, I've got an interview set up with him. Or I was doing a story on earthquakes, and I was able to have somebody zoom in. And so I really think that COVID, for that aspect with our storytelling, really helped us reach out more to people and to do more networking and to use tools like LinkedIn or Facebook or other sites like that to connect with people, and to use tools like Google or Zoom or Teams to create these interviews and to create the conversations. And so as awful as COVID was, we always try to look for the positives. And I feel as a broadcast meteorologist, it really helped with finding different ways to communicate and then using those different ways to convey the same messages and the same stories in some way that people can understand from home, but also see us from behind the scenes and not full hair and makeup, being abroad, like right now, being a little bit more laid back, but still being able to convey messages to our viewers of here's what's going on and here's what's happening and this is what you need to know. So there were some positives that came out of it. And even now, I think moving forward, it is also teaching us that we can do broadcasting from home and we can find ways to still get in touch with the public, even when the public is in separate places or at home like we've been.
Absolutely. And if anything, the pandemic has really showed us to be adaptable to change. And that's probably another really big skill set that you need to have as a broadcast meteorologist, just constantly being able to be fluid and adapting to changes that happen.
Oh, absolutely. And, being able to talk with people at home and on social media and through our broadcasts that are maybe going through a tough time and conveying them safe ways to prepare for the weather. And I think that was something that we focused on, especially as a national network, was if there's a tornado, how can you take shelter safely with your family or in a public shelter during COVID? That was a big deal during hurricane season last year, where people had to go to shelters because they had to evacuate, conveying messages and ways through what we've learned to help people stay calm, but also follow the COVID protocols to keep their families safe.
Another question from Dan Breed would like to know a little bit more about Weather Nation. Maybe could you tell us a little more history of the nature of Weather Nation?
Absolutely. So if you think about national weather networks, a lot of people who comes to mind, Weather Channel and AccuWeather, we're very similar to them. We are a national network. We're based here in Centennial, Colorado, and we broadcast across the entire country as well as in the Caribbean. And we really focus on doing weather all the time. We do regional forecasts. We do national top weather headlines when there's tornado warnings across the entire country or hurricanes that are making landfall. We broadcast, we'll break in, we'll be able to use the platforms of weather, but specify it based on what our top weather stories are, what's going to be impacting people the most. And so a typical hour for us, for example, we'll do 3 national headlines at the 0, the 20, and the 40. And then in between at the 10:30 and the 50, we break down more local and more regional forecasts. So that way, say you're in sunny California and nothing's going on, you still know that you can get your weather forecast every single hour. And then we use what we do on air with our digital platforms, with our social media channels, with our website to break down the stories a little bit more and have that journalism side where we're writing about weather, we're writing about science. And so it's a great thing. And we're on so many different platforms, not just on TV, as we know the way everything's changing. We're on things such as Amazon Fire Stick, we're on Apple TV, we're on Pluto TV, we're on so many different digital platforms. So that way you could be in your car the tornado sirens go off, you can pull off to the side of the road. You can see that where the storms are at, we're going to be live doing that sort of thing. And so it's fun, and it's more of a newer company. I believe we've been around for about 7 or 8 years now. And so we're still growing a lot, but I love what we do is all weather all the time, as well as science and STEM fields. And so it's fun. You should definitely check us out. If you haven't ever watched Weather Nation, you can see there on your screen, it's all one word, Weather Nation. We have a free app for your phone. You can go to WeatherNationTV.com, where we have all of our top weather headlines, and feel free to check us out. But know that we are Colorado based, and so woohoo for Colorado.
Right. Well, and actually this kind of brings me to, I'm sort of going to bridge on Dave Chapman's question regarding, he says, over the course of your career, have you spent much time on location, or have you been primarily in studio? Do you prefer one or the other? And I would like to also piggyback onto that and say, and actually, my connection with Weather Nation, I actually used to be a field correspondent for them. So I was, for about 14 months, I was actually on location doing field reporting for the network, as well as a field correspondent. So maybe to piggyback on that, I'm just curious if you're able to do much field reporting, or are you mostly in the studio?
I'm mostly in the studio, but I have been out in the field here in Colorado, and we have some local events that are happening. And I was actually fortunate back in 2017, I had made some great connections with Lockheed Martin here in Colorado. This is where our GOES weather satellites are built, right here in our own backyard. And I was fortunate to do a behind the scenes story of the satellite being built and the testing it was going through. And then they asked me to actually fly with the satellite from Colorado on the C-5 Super Galaxy out of Buckley, which is one of the biggest planes in the military. So I got to ride with the satellite down to Florida, where they started doing its testing. And then a few months later, I was able to go back and do live reports from Cape Canaveral, in Kennedy, and cover the launch live and talk to the head of United Launch Alliance and some of the top scientists and people at NASA, the engineers behind it. And I did a Women's History Month story, since the launch was in March, on the women behind the GOES satellites, sort of like a hidden figures for our GOES satellite program. And that was a great field opportunity that I was able to do. I've been doing that again now for the next one that's going up later this year, which is GOES-T. That's our third satellite out of the 4 satellite program, our next generation weather satellites. And so I've been doing some exclusive behind the scenes with them, and then hoping to again cover later this year, based on everything with COVID, the transportation and the launch as well, just to give people at home an excitement about the space program, but also the weather side of that, and how we have these amazing satellites that are helping us as forecasters save lives and have advanced warnings and protect property, and being able to convey it into a way of telling a story of the satellite and what this means to somebody at home that has no background in science. And so I do get some opportunities from time to time. I know we're working on doing some more field stuff, and I just love being out in the field. I know you asked what's my favorite. I really like being out in the fields and doing the storytelling through the eyes of the people that are impacted, talking to the experts, talking to the people who were impacted most by the storm. When there's a snowstorm, talking to the crews at the Department of Transportation of what goes into protecting people and to getting our roads ready. I like using others' voices to help tell the story, using my voice to put a special report together that's broadcast across the nation. And I've also done some storm chasing. I know Jessica can really jump in on the excitement of this, and actually being that scientist from the field studying the storms and then breaking down what's happening in an easy to understand manner for our viewers of, this is the storm structure, and this is what it's doing. And, this is why maybe we're having this storm a little bit stronger here than the storm down to our south. And so I've always loved doing reporting as well. And that's why I think I enjoy being in the field. I've been doing reporting for the last decade now. So it's fun. It's fun to just getting creative and finding ways to make people at home really understand what we're doing, and taking the science and making it fun for kids especially.
Well, and I think you touched on a really great point there, is you have this unique opportunity and platform to make science exciting and educational, and really show people, instead of just, sometimes you're in front of a screen, but not always. Sometimes you're in front of a storm, and you can really talk about really what you're seeing, and use that as an educational opportunity. And I think that's got to be really fulfilling. I know every aspect of your job probably presents a lot of different challenges and opportunities for growth. And we just really appreciate you coming and presenting and talking about your experiences. I did want to open it up if there are any other questions that we did not get to. Feel free to either unmute yourself and ask them directly, or you can ask them into the chat, but I want to make sure that we give everyone a chance to ask questions if there are any others.
So I'm going to jump in here. Meredith, you talked kind of at the beginning about trolls and critics, and working that past the March blizzard that we just had at the Weather Service office. Boy, do we have a bunch of trolls and critics. And it, you know, we're all human. It did start to get to people. I know with me, I was working night shifts the entire event. And on that Saturday, I got off Saturday morning and went, got home and then went to sleep. And then 2 hours later, I woke up because I had to go to the restroom. And then I was like, ooh, I just want to check radar. I just want to check radar, So I did. And then I was stress checking radar like the entire rest of the day. I didn't get much sleep at all. Just pretty stressful. So I guess my question for you is, can you expand on like how you deal with trolls and critics? And are there any concrete steps that you would advise for, somebody getting those trolls and critics?
That's a great question. You said it yourself. Even if you're not on the air all the time and you're a public figure, you're going to find people on social media that aren't going to like your forecast. They're not going to like what you say about climate change. They're not going to like what your research is showing. And I know there's a lot of people that their first immediate reaction is call out the troll, share their information, share what they said and say, this person was mean to me, blah, blah. And I really don't encourage that. I mean, there are going to be times when what somebody says, you can use it as a teaching tool. But I think when you're calling somebody out or you're shaming them, you're just as bad as the person that's going out and publicly shaming you. And so sometimes what I'll do is if it's on Facebook, for example, and they publicly wrote on my Facebook page or my station's Facebook page, I might just put a little comment and say, I apologize that you feel that way, but I hope your day gets better. Something simple that's kind. But then if it's something that's a little more harsh, I might go on personally and just send them a message and say, you know what, that what you said was not true, or I don't like the way you're talking about myself and my teammates, or can't change my look. I'm going to be a brunette. Not going to dye my hair for you. But I think the most important thing is you have to take care of yourself first, because it is going to sting. You could get 50 positive comments in a day and then have one person say something about your look or your forecast. And you're going to want to be like, I hate you. I hate you. I hate you. You're such a mean person. Look at everybody. This person's mean. Let's be mean to them too. Don't do that. There's a classy way. There's a professional way that if you do need to get a point across, that you can make a comment on something that's, I would say, kill them with kindness, because majority of the time for those trolls, they're going to be like, whoa, she actually, or he actually read what I wrote. That was kind of mean. Mm-hmm. And so it's something as simple as maybe saying, something that's not going to be mean or snarky or like, look at this person, let's attack them. More of something that's going to be helping them become a better person, but also by you being a better person. One time somebody was like, gosh, you look so fat today. I don't know if you're pregnant or not, but that dress is horrible on you. And of course, being a woman, I got very self-conscious, and a lot of people I'm sure can agree. It hurts when somebody is talking about your looks or the way you talk and present. And I think I wrote back to them and I said, that's really unfortunate that you don't agree with the way I look. Hurtful comments aren't going to help anything, but constructive criticism is always appreciated. So, something like that, just something that you're not being a mean, harsh person, and you're not putting the hate and the trolling back at them, but you're killing them with kindness. I guess I know there's a lot of other people that will not do that, but that's, for me, I think has worked the best is when you kill them with kindness, when you are smart about what you write back and how you address these people. And then the last thing on that is there's going to be some people that they're going to start writing back and trying to fight you. Just ignore them, just block them and move on. If somebody's going to be that hateful and that they're that miserable in their life that they want to attack you and attack you and attack you, you'll feel so much better just hitting block and moving on. I hope that helps.
Definitely appreciate that. And you really do have to have thick skin to go into really any aspect of this field, this industry, and just know that, stay humble, know that it's okay to be wrong and have moments where there are opportunities again for learning and growth, and being able to separate yourself emotionally from some of that negativity is really critical. I've had to learn that too. It's not always easy, especially when they're direct personal attacks like that, especially for women in meteorology. We deal with it so much. So definitely appreciate you sharing that. It's just important to not take those things personally and know that it's more a reflection of them than you. Just keep doing what you're doing and sharing your passion and being super positive the way that you always are on social media. You're always lifting people up and being very encouraging. So that's, again, one of the reasons I wanted to bring you on to speak with us today. You have a lot of insight and wisdom to offer there. I did want to ask one last question.
I think Richard has a question too.
Go for it, Richard.
Yeah, well, I'm not a meteorologist, let alone a national meteorologist, but it occurs to me to wonder, when you get to be a national meteorologist, do you get to have your own Sharpie to change the prediction online?
I don't like Sharpies because if I accidentally dot myself, then my hand is going to look like its own map. So I try to stay away from the Sharpies.
That's great. What a riot. What about future goals and dreams? Do you have any future plans? What's the future look like for you?
I've been in this business now for 10 years, and I've had times where I've wanted to get out. I actually did have a moment in my career where I was going through a real tough time. I was being bullied, I was being harassed, and I just took an 8-month hiatus from television, and I went into actually a different field. I was a director for a nonprofit for Big Brothers Big Sisters. I did that for 8 months, but then I realized whenever there was a weather event, guess who was on Facebook posting about it, or guess who was on Twitter putting all the warnings out there. And anytime I was doing interviews for the nonprofit, I realized how much I missed it and how much I loved being there for people. And I think one of my my biggest goals and dreams is going to be continuing to work with the AMS on the Station Scientist Initiative. Becoming the chair this year really has gotten me excited about that, but also branching out into more of the space community and space weather forecasting. It's something that is going to be, as we know, more and more important over the next decade as we have people going to space, as we have astronauts up to space, as we are going to be seeing more exploration of the moon and the red planet. And I really want to do more reporting and more in-depth stories on the space exploration aspects. That's something that I'm really passionate about. And I really think too, in the next decade, I want to continue to put together more groups and more talks about STEM careers and motivating young girls. I was a Girl Scout growing up. And so being able to talk to those girls at that time in their life when they need somebody to be a positive role model, I really want to continue to do that, and also to brand myself as not just a broadcast meteorologist, but also as a STEM reporter. I know a lot of broadcast Mets don't like reporting, but I'm somebody that's passionate about that. And I hope to be helping lead the way of being the science that's also the journalist, and really communicating to the public these stories, making them easy to understand, getting people passionate about storms or science or technology or some of the next research that's going on in climate or in engineering and how it's going to impact us every single day, and focusing on these stories with the satellites. And, COVID, I think, has really taught us that we're never guaranteed, even more so the next day. And so right now I'm just trying to live my best life every single day and help as many people as I can, and go to bed every night knowing that whether it's making a kid happy because the soccer game isn't going to be rained out, or whether it's saving lives by giving a tornado warning 15 minutes in advance, I just want to keep doing what I'm doing, and I want to keep making a difference and hopefully motivate other people to be kind, to give it their best, and to do what they love and support everyone around them, because at the end of the day, this is our one life to live. So why not help each other instead of hurt each other moving forward?
Oh, I totally agree. And it's really about, what you put out into the world is what you get out of it, right? So speaking of the career fairs, I know that's something that the officers and I have spoken about. We're actually trying to organize a career fair for the month of April. So we'll be looking at a bunch of different fields, trying to hit every field: private sector, public sector, broadcast, all of it. So we'll be continuing to communicate about that information with all of you, and reach out to different folks that hopefully we can bring on for our career fair to talk about what it's like to explore the different industries and subfields of meteorology. So really excited. And again, Meredith, we just appreciate you taking time out of your evening to speak with us this evening. And if there are any, Wendy's got a question. You want to go ahead?
Oh, sorry, that's not the raised hand, that's the applauding hand.
Oh, the applaud hand. Wonderful. If there are any final thoughts, feel free to shout them out. But otherwise, we just appreciate all of you tuning in tonight and making time out of your day for this presentation. And thank you again, Meredith.
Thank you. And as I mentioned, if you think of something after this, if you know any, boys or girls, but especially women in STEM that have questions, that need a mentor, that need somebody to just talk to or even reach out, my social media, my email. I've really dedicated my career now, since I've been in it for a while, to help so many people, because so many people helped me. And especially with the Station Scientist Initiative, if you guys ever have any ideas of ways that we as broadcasters can best convey what you do in your different parts of the AMS community, please reach out about that. We're always looking for experts. We're always looking for ways that we can be better at telling the weather story and the science and climate story. So I hope to hear from you. And again, for those that are trying to get into this field or just starting off in their field, I've been there. I know what it's like. And now I want to help, because I had a lot of positive people get me to where I am today. Like I said, success is never achieved alone.
That's right. Absolutely. Thank you again, everyone. I will go ahead and let you go and enjoy your evenings, but stay tuned. We'll be putting out more updates soon on the career fair and everything else. So just stay tuned for those updates and all of that. So thanks again, guys. Have a great night.
Meredith.
Bye so much.
Thank you, Meredith.
Thank you guys. It was so much fun.
Wonderful. Thank you.